All right, guys, welcome into Thinking About DFS this week. No Jacob Sanderson. He's feeling a little bit under the weather. So I have a surprise guest for everyone. Mr. John Daigle from Establish the Run will be joining me as we break down every game on the Sunday main slate. Let's find some shippers this week. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer. John, I appreciate you being here, brother. Always a friend at a time in need. I don't think we've done a show together since the offseason, so this will be great to catch up, to chat some ball. And it is Week 11. We are just about to that. When you do the job that we do, John, that Thanksgiving week where there is both a whole slate of games that people care about on Thursday, the Black Friday game, and then the main slate on Sunday, it's a grind. So this right here, this is kind of a moment to breathe before that truly insane week.
Even this past week, I had my first Friendsgiving of the season and trying to do work because as the Texan, you always get designated the turkey. And by the way, a good stereotype, I can cook a mean ass turkey. It takes like 48 hours to do the brine and everything properly. But doing all of that around like the in-season work, yeah, it gets really rough. So at least the NFL gave us 4 buys this week, 6 buys next week, and then the slate of Thanksgiving. Also, that is a fun week. It's fun to talk about DFS on Thursday, the showdown slate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a lot because you have a Wednesday deadline practically for everything.
Yeah, not great there. We do have a pretty fun slate this week. I think. Did you have any sweats last week? Did anything have gone your way?
Last week was actually the first week that I got $0 back this season. It's been a while since that's happened too, and it's because luckily I scaled back a hair, but it's because I hated the chalk, hated DeAndre Hopkins, hated Khalil Shakir. We'll get to those players too. But I didn't want to show up to tournaments with like only 25 to 30% ownership. Like that was too unique. So I tried blending in. I tried getting off Hopkins with Kareem Hunt, who did fine. But, Kareem Hunt's never going to get you 30 points. So even with the 10 catches, like it's just hard. He had 16 points, I believe it was, with 10 targets. Like, only Kareem Hunt can accomplish such a feat. So now I had a terrible, terrible week. I had Caleb double stacks in single entry with Hunter Henry coming back. Drake May instead looked up, saw Austin Hooper. I'm convinced he thought it was Drake with Hunter Henry. They kind of looked the same.
He for sure thought that jump ball that Hooper caught, he for sure thought that was Hunter
Absolutely. Henry. They looked the exact same. So not a good week for your boy at all.
I had a couple decent teams. My best team was a Purdy double with McCaffrey and Kittle with no bring back. I thought Kareem Hunt was basically the play of the slate in terms of how he projected and how he was owned. Got to 87th in the SPY with that one, a McCaffrey receiving touchdown, and maybe we would have gotten a little bit sweaty because 178 points won the Millie Maker last week. 178 points. So, sometimes you just need everyone in your lineup to not suck. Guys, we are going to go ahead and get into the slate. And we're actually, I just realized I had the wrong thing pulled up. I was about to say, we have this great game, but it's a Thursday night game. I'm hoping the Thursday night game is good. All right, let's get into it. We have got 11 games on the main slate, and we can go ahead and begin. God, do I hope that this game is good. I hope that Green Bay at Chicago is a good game. It would do wonders for my bags. It would do wonders for the league if getting Shane Waldron out of there was a positive. Just from a very high level, what do you make of the Waldron firing, the Thomas Brown promotion?
Yeah, of course he had to go. It's been ridiculous play calling, and we did get that stretch of 3 games where Caleb Williams was awesome against the easiest opponents possible. But out of the bye, especially these past 2 games, at least 6 sacks in back-to-back contests. For DFS, I'm not going to have any of this. Although Shane Waldron's gone, I still don't trust the construction of this team. Sacks are a quarterback stat. I'm still very much worried about Caleb Williams, at least for the rest of this regular season. As Pat Thorman also noted in his Snaps and Pace article, that Thomas Brown, when he took over for the Panthers last year, at least we had volume under Waldron for the Bears this season. Thomas Brown ran his offense at the third slowest pace in the league. So we could slow this thing down and just run the ball, which is not good for anyone. I'm hoping we get different routes for DJ Moore, but I'm probably a little bit spurned as well because I did play Caleb against the Cardinals in 3-max a couple weeks ago and then single entry against the Patriots last week. And playing Caleb Williams twice in a row, it's not fun at all. So I'm going to have none of this game as a whole.
I think that DJ Moore's routes could remain the same just if Caleb was better at throwing them. Like I'm okay with DJ Moore kind of as the gadget, like with some of the worst quarterback play in the planet in Carolina would just get 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns every single season. Let's assume Caleb can be better than I don't know, whatever the quarterback. My memory has been wiped of who DJ Moore's 2019 Carolina Panthers quarterback was. Let's assume he can play better than that. I probably won't have Caleb here. The guys I am interested in here, the primary one is Jayden Reed, where they had their bye week. There definitely is some concerns that he just hasn't been healthy, and that's why he's not been targeted as much down the field. He's a $6,400 player who's got 2 games already this year, over 30 points over at the Solver. What do we have? Projected ownership? We've got, it's not live yet. Let's call it 3% max though. I think probably for Jayden Reed. That will be, and the thing is with Jayden Reed, these are the plays I like, John. If I play Jayden Reed in a lineup, I can just play the cash team around that. I can click the lock button on Reed, and then I can click optimize and know that is actually probably going to be a team that sims well and that seems fine because he is so unique.
I don't hate the Jayden Reed call, and that's how I like sprinkling in my wide receivers, depending on the build. The past couple weeks, we've struggled to find a couple cheap value options to jam everyone else in. This week, there are a couple of guys. Last week, it was Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and it was easy to get there. I didn't have any, but it was easy to get there. I just had a bias. I was like, I'm not playing MVS.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of blocked myself out from that. I should have been a little bit more open to it. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about those cheap guys when we get there. But don't hate Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed, Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about some of those low-owned guys that you just suck it up, close your eyes, and be like, you're getting the target, so let's find out what happens.
All right. Give me your take on who scores the fantasy points for the highest team total of this slate. We have the Detroit Lions with a 30-point team. I don't believe we've seen a 30-point team total this year. That's got to be the highest total that we have seen. And what's so funny, I mean, you guys can see here in the projections, very minimal values for the Lions guys. Slightly negative for Goff, slightly negative for Montgomery. It's pretty funny. They just spread their touches out in such a way, particularly now that Jameson Williams is back. Who scores the fantasy points for the Lions this week? And more importantly, do they do what they do against the Titans where they're up 20 points and they're letting David Montgomery throw passing touchdowns?
That's the issue, is that I want to play the Lions, but it's too spread out, honestly, because the Jaguars are not going to push back at all.
They sure aren't.
Last week, Mac Jones, 1 fumble, 2 interception, 3 sacks, 5 yards per attempt. Just abysmal. And that was with everyone except Christian Kirk at full strength. So very worried about the Jaguars. If I had to play this game, I've thought about this too. I think I would play naked Jared Goff. But even that seems like it's not going to be enough volume because we know if the Lions have a chance to, they'll instead just run it with Montgomery and Gibbs. Yeah. 50% of Gibbs's carries this year have come when the Lions have had a 7-point lead. So Gibbs may be the one who ices this game. But honestly, it's probably just going to be between the 2 Lions running backs, and I don't think we're going to have enough volume for Goff in the passing game. But they are going to smash. All of them are going to smash. I just don't know where the ball's going to go, and it may not even be enough volume where even if Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams catch a touchdown, where it even matters.
Yeah, I find it pretty hard to see Jameson Williams getting in the optimal at 5,800. Honestly, pretty hard for me to see St. Brown getting there. I guess St. Brown could score 2 touchdowns in the first half. Like it just so happens that they're on the 17-yard line and the 3-yard line, and the St. Brown play works on both of those. If I was going to play one of them, it would definitely be Gibbs, because Gibbs can get there on efficiency. In fact, Gibbs's highest scoring game of the year, he got 8 rush attempts in the week that he was in the optimal. He had 8 rushing attempts. Got the bonus on 8 rushing attempts. I think he had 5 receptions in that game. He had a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. That was the Titans game, if I'm remembering correctly. I will also give you Daigle, I'll give you the Leone puke play of the week. Bet my bottom dollar, my very last dollar, which we're getting pretty close to in week 11, that Leone is going to show up with Evan Ingram in one of his lineups. I don't know if it'll be the Thunderdome. I don't know if it'll be the power sweep, but the ETR users will be using Evan Ingram. 62% of Mac Jones's targets last week went to tight ends. Evan Ingram had 10 targets. Evan Ingram had 90% of the routes. The whole offense is built around these checkdowns, basically, to Evan Ingram. Wow. Did you see that? We just got the ownerships in real time. Look at that, guys. That is phenomenal stuff from the solver.
Look at that, 16% ownership for Evan Ingram, which is shocking because we have some, if not, we actually have a lot of cheap tight ends on this slate, and the cheap tight ends have been burning us if you haven't been playing them. So I've just been sucking it up and just spending down at the position. So we'll see what happens with Evan Ingram. But yeah, I would like to play Goff. I would like to play Gibbs. I would like to play Montgomery. I'm not sure I'm going to handle it just yet, but I'm definitely not showing up to slates without Lions.
Yeah, I think you need to like make your decision and be like, oh, this is St. Brown for me. This is Gibbs for me. Like, especially if you're like me and you play like 5 to 10 lineups in a given week. I think full fading the highest team total on the slate, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's bad, even if they don't project that well individually, because, projections are fluid and those things change in game. Like, if you knew David Montgomery was getting 17 rushes, for sure, he'd be a jam.
And Dave Montgomery, I feel like, has better odds to score a touchdown. I haven't looked this up on Sportsbook than Gibbs. So Montgomery just seems like someone, he's definitely going to get there. I just don't know how I'm going to play it just yet. They're going to smash, though. They're going to destroy them.
They are. All right, another game with a very wide discrepancy. We have the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to play at the Miami Dolphins. Team total of 25.5 for the Dolphins. A-Chain finally had a mediocre game, only 10 PPR points with Tua back last week. Tyreek Hill scored his first touchdown since week 1. Daigle, I'm just going to go ahead and go on the record here. We are going to get the 40 burger from Devin A-Chain this week. This is the Broncos game, part 2. He's going to score a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown. He's going to get the receiving bonus this week, the receiving bonus for Devin A-Chain against the Las Vegas Raiders. How are you approaching this spot?
It's a 25.5 point team total, as you said, and it's come down. The total continues to sink. I still think I want to show up with some Miami stacks in my 3 max, maybe even 1. If you multi-entry, I want to get a little bit creative because it's still a Raiders defense we consistently target. I don't know just yet how I would play it around A-Chan. A-Chan should be 30+% rostered. He's arguably the best running back. One of the best running back plays on the entire slate, and chalk I'm definitely willing to eat, especially after a letdown game, even though DFS has gotten too sharp. Doesn't matter. No one even cares that it was a letdown game at all. Tua with A-Chan may be interesting. And then the wide receivers, I'm still just, I don't know. Like, I may go all in with an onslaught here, but again, the Raiders defense, plus we have some coordinator changes. It's probably going to result in Scott Turner, and they changed their passing game coordinator as well, just running the ball instead. But we just don't know what's going to happen. Gardner Minshew still gives Jacoby Myers life on the other side too. So I think Tua, maybe with A-Chan, is interesting as well.
I think that's actually a really unique pairing because the Tua teams are going to really overlap with Tyreek, but we know really that A-Chan's best production this season has come as a receiver. I will say I probably am going to do less of Jacoby Myers than the field. Jacoby Myers at 5,600. Now, it's not a great week for wide receiver value, so I see why this projected ownership is so high. I see why people will want him. I just am a little bit less into it. And I do like Bowers. I do like Bowers as well. And Jonnu Smith at 3,800. I mean, he has the same receiving production, same amount of targets, I think, and more yards than Jalen Waddle this season. So if you would you play Jalen Waddle for 3,800? Probably. So if you're doing that, you could do. Here's a weirdo one: Tua, A-Chain, Jonnu, and then you can just surround that with like a relatively chalky build. I like that a good bit.
I feel like people will definitely play Waddle for 3,800 play Waddle if they get to the stacks here. But yeah, again, interesting that we just don't have values around here, which is why flex tight end may be another option this week.
Well, I mean, every single week, dude. The sim ROI, like I get on the solver on Sunday morning, and it's like you should definitely play Mike Gesicki and Taysom Hill together. And I'm like, all right, well, if you
Taysom Hill's been mucking it up. Yeah, Taysom Hill's definitely made it a flex option.
Yes, he has. All right, that's all I got there. I mean, I think you guys know what you're doing with Tyreek. He probably is a very strong play, but the role and the offense has just not been as good this season.
Yeah, I don't know how to handle it. This is kind of what we dream of, though, right? 6 to 8% Tyreek Hill. It's Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to do just yet with the Dolphins. I have to see where everyone else is going to go. They probably won't be high on him. Again, I may just onslaught the Dolphins. I think it's an interesting enough spot.
I agree with that.
That you probably want to go overweight in at least a couple of your lineups, even if you're underweight them. Because being underweight, that still means you're probably going to have more than the field still.
One thing we definitely know is Mike McDaniel does not call the dogs off, which is like that we definitely like that. All right, man, another game with just like a real question of how do you approach it. We have the Los Angeles Rams, a team total of 24, traveling to play at New England. I'm pretty interested here. I like Kyron, I like Puka, I like Kupp, I like May Henry, I like May Douglas. Kayshon Boutte, because of the lack of like real clear wide receiver value, is like popping in everything this week. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. This is not a defense that I expect to like really make Drake May's life miserable. You could do May, Boutte, Puka. I love all of that. I mean, this John, how's this game going to be won?
It is the Patriots, so let's always calm down, step back. They of course can sink any environment despite Drake May
so true
being good. So I wouldn't say I'm necessarily excited about the overall environment here whenever I'm looking at teams that can score the most points of the slate, but they're definitely pieces. Like you said, Kayshon Boutte led the team in routes run and target share last week after Gerard Mayo said that they're going to have a youth movement at the position. And so without wide receiver value, only leaning on tight ends for value right now, he certainly stands out. He'll get owned solely for that reason. It's the Marquez Valdez-Scantling theory from last week. And then, yeah, Drake May is interesting enough to perhaps tinker. I think I like too many other cheap quarterbacks to really go there, but I wouldn't ever tell anyone to not show up with Drake May. Now in his full 4 starts, 16.9 fantasy points per game, which would qualify as the QB 12 on the year, averaging 4.5 carries per week as well. The only time the Patriots have played a mobile quarterback this year, Kyler Murray had 5 carries for 59 yards. So yeah, I like May. Boutte's fine. And then on the other side, it's usually nitpicking, but I do think it's more of a signal for a Puka game, given that the Patriots play the second most man coverage in the league. Last year, Puka, 19.5 yards per catch against man. This year, he's seen 32% of his targets so far against man coverage.
I, in general, think that what happens with Kupp and Puka is that no one can make up their mind. Mm-hmm. So that ownership just ends up split on them. I mean, that is true in like any environment where they've both existed in. It happened in the game against the Seahawks where Nakua got thrown out. Now, Kupp, he does lead the entire NFL in targets per route run in with a minimum of 100 routes. But like the thing on top of that is if Stafford gets to 34 passing attempts in this game, which like he probably won't. This is probably more of a Kyron script than anything else. I mean, they both get 11 targets. They both get 12 targets. I in a game where you could see the volume get limited because it's a road game against the Patriots, where like it could just be, this could be a game where like both teams run 55 plays. You probably want Puka because Kupp kind of needs to get there more on sheer volume. You could definitely see Puka get there on, 6 for 98 and 2 touchdowns or something like that. I do like both of them quite a bit. How do you feel about Kyren relative to, I mean, he's 7,900 now. Like, he is the same price effectively as Derrick Henry, and Barkley's not on the slate, but like Alvin Kamara, the true elite fantasy football running backs.
There's so many good expensive running backs on the slate, which is why the last couple of weeks also we continue fighting for that value, especially in DFS. There are 20 top 12 running backs this year, as I continue phrasing it. So I hate using that position to eat or spend down at for anything of value. Kyren, I'm sure I'll mix in a hair, but I think I like other expensive running back spots a lot more. And I know how spread out this slate is. Like, even we'll get to Audric Estime in a bit, but like, I know I don't even need the value at running back to make a unique stack this week. So I don't think I'm going to get there just because I like other environments more.
I agree. I mean, Kyren, like, he always projects well. He always scores a touchdown, but it's like, I do very rarely find myself clicking him in single entry in 3 max. All right. We have the Cleveland Browns, the return of Jameis Winston to the New Orleans Saints organization. Relatively low total here, 22.5 team total for the Browns, 21.5 team total for the Saints. We have a bunch of injuries for the Saints. Gotta say, Jameis stacks here. Jameis Tillman, Jameis Elijah Moore, Jameis Judy, Jameis Njoku. Pretty appealing to me. You know, Jameis did not see didn't really see a price hike at all. He's 5,500. He gets to play in the Dome. Taysom, thank God they finally raised Taysom's price. If he was 3,900 for another week and I had to sit down and just see him in every optimal lineup, it would have been unpleasant. Can I interest you in some Jameis stacks?
Of course. What are we showing for ownership for him right now?
Right now, the solver has Jameis at 10%, Tillman for 17%, Elijah Moore for 12%, Njoku only 4%, though, with Kamara as the most owned play of the entire slate.
I think Tillman may arguably be the most mispriced player on DraftKings for his role. I think
you're right, yeah.
3 games without Amari Cooper now, 12, 9, and 11 targets. And it's an amazing spot for the Browns passing game. The week prior to the bye against the Chargers, we knew that was a failure game just for the way the Chargers play zone defense. Jameis Winston, you don't even need to know the advanced metrics to understand that Jameis Winston is a gunslinger and not a guy who diagnoses coverages and finds windows in zone coverage. So, of course, he struggled in that one. Chargers also bring the heat. But the Saints do not do that. They don't bring the pressure on you, first of all. And second, last week was just the typical voodoo magic of the sports betting 101, right? Changing head coach, you're back home against a divisional opponent. There was zero chance the Saints were ever going to lose that game, and it was so obvious. But their defense was still absolutely miserable. 16 of Kirk Cousins' 23 completions went for 10-plus yards. They only scored 17 points on the surface because Younghoe Koo missed 3 easy field goals. So, yeah, Jameis is about to blow this game up. I don't know if I'll get to Jameis because, again, I do like a lot of other quarterbacks, and I find this game hard to stack. In fact, if Jameis comes in over-rostered, I am open to putting Nick Chubb in one of 3 running back spots and just closing my eyes. Like, Chubb has been exactly the run-out we thought, right?
Yep.
You get touches, but you are super inefficient. It's been 14 days off. The Saints still allowing the 3rd most yards per carry, and Chubb's share of the team's backfield touches have increased in every game, including the week before the bye, and it was at 76%. Yes, Jerome Ford was available and ran 31 routes to Chubb's 10, but you're never playing Chubb for the pass catching anyways. It's like Derrick Henry. He never earns targets, so we don't care about that. With the Browns being 1-point road dogs, if you think it's a game where they lead and win, it's a spot to hold your nose for Chubb and just play him right now. So I'm going to wait and see what everyone does. I love Tillman, but I could play Chubb too.
I like that. I think I probably, well, I don't think I can get to Chubb, actually. Like, he's 6,000. Mm-hmm. So it's not like if he was 5,400, yeah, definitely. But it's like Chubb definitely needs 2 touchdowns to get there. He's not getting any passing game work. Like, not only is he not playing passing downs, but Jameis does not check down. That is not the Jameis thing. I think the interesting element would be like, do you include Kamara on this stuff, or do you actually say a game where Kamara gets his 27 rushing attempts is probably bad for Jameis? I'm not really sure. And like, The usage for Kamara, I mean, it's unbelievable, John. It's like does not matter the score. They are just giving this dude the ball all the time. Like this, sometimes you see a 24-point projection, you're like, that can't possibly be right. No, it's like definitely right.
We have the argument and establish the run rest of season top 150 all the time because we have like Saquon Barkley over Alvin Kamara, and I don't hate that at all. But like Saquon Barkley, the last 3 games, Alvin Kamara hasn't scored a touchdown, and he's scored 18, 27, and 16 fantasy points. Saquon Barkley can't do that. Like Alvin Kamara's floor, especially after the contract extension, is so high, especially with Jamal Williams and Kendry Miller out.
It's definitely true. I mean, Barkley, if Barkley got Kamara usage, I mean, he'd be averaging like 32 points a game.
If he wasn't the best running back at getting tackled at the 1-yard line. Yeah.
I know. It's unbelievable. All right. Another potential banger. I'm getting like pretty excited for this slate as we go through.
Oh, it's so spread out. That's my favorite kind of slate where you can do anything around the chalk because as you mentioned at the top, the way you like to play, I like to just have my unique stacks around the chalk if I like the chalk. Again, last week I struggled because the Sims and everyone came in because we needed value, came in jamming Joe Flacco doubles with Khalil Shakir. And it was like the worst possible spot once again for Joe Flacco. So I didn't want to get on any of that shit. This week, though, I feel very comfortable if everyone's building the chalk because there's like 5 different quarterbacks I want to play.
Well, here we go. Here's one of them for me. We have Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens traveling to play at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 25.5 point team total for the Ravens. No ownership on Henry either. So I guess the libs are just, being prepared to be owned again. We have Russell Wilson actually showing a little bit of ownership, 10% ownership on George Pickens, no ownership on Flowers, no ownership on Najee Harris, small ownership on Andrews. Like, it's kind of crazy. This is a pretty affordable outside of Lamar game with a very high total. The Ravens just score 1 billion points every single week. No one wants them. There's going to be a stat that goes around, John, about how bad Jaden Daniels was rushing against the Steelers last week. And I mean this in the most respectful way possible to Jaden Daniels. You have to accomplish a lot of things on the football field for me to start extrapolating your stats to compare to Lamar Jackson, who is still playing. If you look at his sliding EPA over the last 6 weeks, it's the best stretch of his career. Like not even close.
Not close
as a thrower. Yeah, he's unreal. I think if you are playing 5 lineups or 3 lineups, you want one of them to be a Lamar Flowers or Lamar Andrews.
He's going to be a 3-time MVP at 27 years old. That's awesome because he deserves it. He's playing better this year than he was last year when he won MVP. That's saying something. So at the back of my mind, like that's everything on paper makes sense. I comp this to the Texans-Browns playoff game last year where everything on paper suggested the Browns should roast the Texans. But then you start using your brain that the Sims can't plug in. And everything in a Steelers-Ravens game suggests it's 100% going to be 13-7.
I know.
But so I may get off of it. I may just play the logic game and be like, there's no way division opponents familiar with each other face each other and actually light up the scoreboard. The Ravens Bengals proved us wrong there, but the Steelers just seem like a different breed. Having said that, I do understand why everyone's getting there, and I may end up getting there anyways. For the Russ side, he's going to check in at ownership, as you're seeing there, because he's so cheap, one, and it's just the way like they are playing right now. The Ravens now have ceded 21 fantasy points and multiple passing touchdowns to 5 of the last 6 quarterbacks they've faced. Baltimore's also leading the league in leaking 22 catches, 20 yards downfield. And that's not where Russ only wants to go at the second highest rate of throws 20 yards downfield, but he's completing an NFL best 53% of them. And so if you get to Russ, why people are getting there, but for the reason, all those reasons, plus the fact that no Kyle Hamilton, I don't believe he's going to play in this game, just opens it up even more downfield for Russ. On the other side of the ball too, I think I'm more interested in Lamar Jackson to not only Zay Flowers, but we are getting some Rashad Bateman signal here too. And in a slate where we're looking for value,
God, Bateman, we need the value.
Yeah. Bateman, we know not only the guy who takes their deep shots, but the last 2 games, and these are 2 games with Deontay Johnson, remember, he's seen 21% and 23% of their targets, and they've decreased his depth of target. Just quote unquote 10-yard depth of target. So his points are more viable now as well with the deep shots added in. No Alex Highsmith in this game. And I don't think people realize that without Alex Highsmith this year, I think this will be his 4th game missed. The Steelers have dropped from top 5 in pressure rate to 30th. Lamar Jackson from a clean pocket this year, a league best 10.3 yards per attempt, 16 touchdowns, only 2 picks. So I love the Lamar Jackson double stack side here.
I think that is a really unique angle. Like the way people play Lamar is always naked or single, or Lamar with like a bring back. And Pickens is definitely viable. I think Freiermuth is probably viable. And then if Najee doesn't play with this Q tag, I mean, obviously Jalen Warren is like a super jam at 5,300. I don't think I'm interested in Najee in salary cap DFS in this spot at all. And I'm not really honestly that interested in Henry either. I mean, famous last words, 27 rushes, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I kind of just like Kamara versus Henry. I don't know, man. I'm just playing Kamara. It is what it is.
You can play, again, a slate that needs value. You can play Russ, Warren, and Pickens if you don't want to get to Williams, regardless of Najee's status, because I think that was a bit of a changing of the guard after their bye last week. Najee handled, I know he got banged up with the ankle injury, but he still handled a season low, 53% of their backfield touches. Warren still earned 100% of their running back targets. And that's how you beat the Ravens too. They're allowing the 6th most catches and 3rd most receiving yards per game to opposing running backs. So I don't even hate Warren with Najee playing.
All right, there we go. Jalen Warren. We got
there's a lot of pieces here.
It took us until week 11, but we did get a Jalen Warren tout.
Yeah.
All right. The Minnesota Vikings against the Tennessee Titans, 22.5 team total. For the Vikings, 16.5 team total for the Titans. I really just have 2 questions for you here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being, what would have to happen for us to get a Justin Jefferson nuclear game? And then second, is Calvin Ridley just going to score 22 DraftKings points every single week, come hell or high water?
I treat the Titans defense a lot like the Bills defense, where I just don't play anyone against them. Like those metrics behind the scenes, they have played an easy schedule, but they're no joke, dude. All they've done is limit great quarterbacks so far this year whenever they've had the opportunity. So Sam Darnold, we saw the first blip on the radar last week. This is the second of 3 consecutive road games. I did have some Darnold too, just because when you play the Jaguars, the only 2 quarterbacks now to not finish his top 12 options were Jordan Love, and he got injured in the first half, and Sam Darnold last week. So you always have the Jaguars secondary on your radar, which is what led me to naked Jared Goff idea. But this game, it's going to be so sluggish. Honestly, I would really only sprinkle in Calvin Ridley. When you see 39%, 30%, and 39% of the team's targets in 3 consecutive games without DeAndre Hopkins, like, you should absolutely be on the radar regardless of the team total.
I agree with you. I might. Well, actually, you know what? Hawkinson, 4,700. I mean, he was not even up to a full complement of snaps, but his targets per route run has been unbelievable, which is like pretty clear how they want to use him. They got Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt to block. You bring TJ Hawkinson in obvious passing situations. Hawkinson not really going to be owned.
I forgot to mention, by the way, because you mentioned Hawkinson, we passed one of the cheap tight ends. We passed the Davis Allen cash game tight end.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Very good point.
At the Stone Man, I should have brought that up.
Okay. Let me even just make a timestamp so people know. So Davis Allen is just the starting tight end for Los Angeles Rams. Now we knew that. The ETR projections knew that. The DraftKings DFS algorithm did not know that, because that was a primetime game. The salaries were already out for Dolphins Rams. He's 2,500. He had 83% route participation last week. He split routes with Colby Parkinson the week before. Colby Parkinson is benched. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what the deal is. But Davis Allen, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think Davis Allen gets owned in the SPY this week? What's your guess?
40%, 45%.
Yes.
Because remember, we haven't got there yet, but we're also going to have Dawson Knox most likely without Dalton Kincaid, and that's that skinny stack makes a little more sense. And then on FanDuel, they're bringing in the night game, and Will Dissly is an amazing option for cheap as well. There's plus if Noah Fant DMP on Wednesday, AJ Barner's out there too. If you get to Seattle 49ers, George Kittle may not play. I'm not going to play Eric Saubert, but some people might if they play Brock Purdy to get unique as well. So we got a lot of cheap tight ends this week.
Yeah, and if all those guys come through, Allen is still the best one because I actually think he can kind of play. And he's Stone Man, and all due respect to Demarcus Robinson, the greatest wide receiver in the history of the National Football League, they only have two guys who can earn targets. D-Rob went 5 targets, 1 reception last week. So I think you could pretty easily see just like, well, all right, 7 targets for Davis Allen. He scored a touchdown. Like if 2,500 Davis Allen scores a touchdown and you didn't have him, it's probably over for you this week. It's just kind of the way it goes. I mean, I guess it could be a high scoring slate, but that is my imagination. All right. The last week's most disappointing chalk spot. We have the New York Football Jets hosting the Indianapolis Colts at home. You going back to the well with Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson? What's your thought here?
Devontae Adams' target share has now increased in every game, all 4 games with the Jets, including 34.
He looked so bad last week,
I
John.
know.
It was crazy.
34%, 39% last week as well. The Jets are horrible. I get it. I am willing to play Devontae Adams pending his ownership. We're showing single-digit ownership right now. We'll see if that gets steamed at all because I am willing to play him as just one of those expected points regression guys.
Plug your nose.
And why I like playing Adams is because Anthony Richardson's one of my favorite plays on this slate. No one's going to get there and understand what's going on with the Jets right now. And 5, let's take away the Thursday night game against the Texans against what is a useless Houston offense without Nico Collins. And the other 4 surrounding games under head coach Jeff Ulbrich, the Jets have been dead last in EPA per drop back and allowing 29 points per game. They've also, in 4 of those games, have allowed 3 top 5 quarterbacks, including 2 rushing touchdowns to Kyler Murray, a rushing touchdown to Josh Allen, and a rushing touchdown to Russell Wilson. That's how you beat the Jets defense. So with Anthony Richardson being so cheap and the stench all over him, I think I'm just going to play him naked at 5,200 and then let the wide receivers sort themselves out.
It's like playing, like, dude, we've all played, Deshaun Kaiser, Mitch Trubisky, Anthony Richardson. It's the same thing as how, 3 times a year, Mitch Trubisky would win someone the Millie Maker on DraftKings in like a loss, like a terrible Bears loss, but Trubisky won someone the Millie Maker. Like and the Jets defense is terrible, man.
Yeah,
terrible. Yeah, they're awful.
So I love Richardson in this game.
I like him. Yeah, man. I hadn't really thought about that angle until you just said it, but my God, 50, you do Richardson naked. You can totally play Devontae Adams. You can totally play Garrett Wilson. Weirdly, I thought I would be into Breece Hall here because the matchup is so good, but like 7,500, the role is really weird. Rodgers is throwing a ton in the red zone. They're bringing Braylon Allen in for the short yardage stuff. But I think a lot of people will feel that way. This projected ownership, I bet he ends up closer to like 10% than 15, 18% or so. So then he becomes more appealing. I don't consider any of these guys building block plays, but it's viable, I think. I mean, honestly, everyone we just mentioned, I think, could be a single entry play.
I don't hate it at all. Yeah, I just like the idea of spending down for Richardson, going to Adams, maybe going to Breece Hall instead if you want to get there. That kills one of your running back spots, and we still haven't talked about some of the expensive running backs I want to play.
That's true. All right. Well, here's a game, John, that you got to have an opinion on one way or the other. Early ownership projection. Well, Atlanta traveling to play at Denver, 20.5 team total for the Falcons, 23.5 team total for the Denver Broncos. Odrick Estime right now, early ownership projection, very low. Looks like our friends, Michael Leone and Dank and his buddies, so they're middling it. They've got Estime for 9 points, Javonte for 7 points, Jaleel for 4 points. Obviously, if you subsume those points from Javonte, give 2 of those points from Javonte to Estime, Estime is going to look a lot better at 4,500. What is your read on the Denver Broncos backfield here?
I'm not playing Estime. not the kind of player I play. The 0 targets this year, career 5.4% target share at Notre Dame. He's an early down bruiser. The way you beat the Falcons is through the air at running back. They're allowing the 6th most receiving yards per game. And Estime's already been benched twice this year because he has 3 fumbles.
Buddy, he fumbled so hard in his first game, they just put him on IR rather than deal with him.
He fumbled in the preseason too. That's the one everyone forgets about. So I'm not playing Estime. Plus, like, this is not 4K Tyrone Tracy, where we didn't have that many expensive running backs we needed to prioritize on that slate. We have the guys here, including Achane, Bijan, Christian McCaffrey. We haven't even got to yet. So yeah, I'm not wasting a running back spot on Estime. I will play Bo Nix to Courtland Sutton. Bo Nix is another one of my favorite quarterbacks on this slate. The last 3 games, if you take away the rushing yards, which Nix provides exclusively by passing points, the Falcons have allowed 17.9 to Baker Mayfield without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Dallas's QB room collectively, both Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott got there. And then last week, Derek Carr finishes the QB 6. The only 2 games Raheem Morris has played a rushing quarterback this year, Justin Fields had 14 carries for 57 yards. Jalen Hurts had 13 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. And then also we have the obvious stacking partner with Courtland Sutton, who's now seen 28 to 30% of the team's targets in 3 consecutive games. So yeah, I love Bo Nix to Sutton this game.
I probably won't use Sutton. Maybe that's famous last words. I probably would just rather, I don't know, play Jaden Reed or something, like a totally uncorrelated Jaden Reed right around that price. But obviously that's fine. I'm more in on Estime than John is. You could definitely talk me into 17 rushes, 82 yards. That's useless, right? Well, you add the touchdown. Basically, if you're playing Estime at 4,500, you are making a bet that his anytime touchdown hits. And if it does, he will be optimal or maybe not optimal, but eligible to be in a winning fantasy football lineup. If Audric Estime does not score in this game, he will be one of the worst plays ever. It just is what it is. Now, we might see, this could be a game where we get an announcement. You know, Sean Payton might say, we're starting Audric Estime, or the team might say, we're going back to Javonte. Javonte was sick. Javonte had an undisclosed injury, yada, yada. We also, this is an afternoon game. This locks at 3:05 p.m. Central Time, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. John, we could get a Javonte healthy scratch in the afternoon window. It could be 1:30 Central Time, and we could get a Javonte healthy scratch. I don't think that's likely, but it's definitely possible. Because I mean, we've literally already seen this happen with a veteran running back this year with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not saying Javonte is as cooked as Zeke, but I'm not saying he's not either. So I don't know. Like, let's pretend that my scenario happens. Javonte healthy scratch. What does that do for you with like late swaps and stuff? Do you still feel the same way? Like Estime still is just not getting there?
Yeah, I genuinely just don't think I'm interested in the style of player he is. Broncos backfield. I'm thinking through it. Broncos backfield, Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane. Yeah, I just don't think I'll get there ultimately.
No, I think that is actually really sharp because we've seen plenty of guys like this in the past, you know, like basically this spot, surprise rush only running back for a team with a running back timeshare gets a surprise start. That guy is like bad DFS chalk 87% of the time. There's been many such cases. I will add Bijan, just like a straight great play at 10% ownership. Just, I don't need to know matchup. I don't need to know opponent. He is now transcended to getting enough work weekly and being efficient that he's sort of in kind of like Derrick Henry, or like where it's just like, yeah, the field might not be on him here, but like he can just break the slate any given week. I know that the Broncos defense is good, but it's just like he's the type of player that can break that stuff with efficiency. And Kyle Pitts is also his role. He's kind of like MVS at tight end. It's like, well, he could score 2 touchdowns at 1% owned. He's on the field. I probably won't get there on Pitts. I definitely might get there on, I might play Bijan on a team or two. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is a good shout out. The touchdowns could instead just go to Drake London, but that middle of the field is how you attack the Broncos. That's how you exploit them. And Kyle Pitts is still basically a slot receiver like Kate Otten. So Kyle Pitts is a good shout out at 1%, honestly. Like that's how a Bo Nix, Sutton, Kyle Pitts stack gets there for sure.
Yep. Hundo P. All right. This probably actually is the game of the week that you got to decide on. The Seattle Seahawks traveling to play at the San Francisco 49ers. McCaffrey, he's back. He's fully back. Purdy, awesome play. I think Geno is actually a great play. I have not seen a ton from the 49ers defense this year to be like, well, you just can't play guys against the 49ers defense. I like the Seahawks to cover here. Actually, Jennings looks awesome. Jennings is top 5 in the NFL in yards per route run. Now, it's pretty buoyed by that game that he had a billion fantasy points. Debo, this guy, is he fat? I mean, I cannot figure out what is going on with Debo Samuel. Kittle is like legitimately questionable, has not practiced yet. JSN, we had the coach speak, the coordinator saying, even if Metcalf gets back, we got to keep getting this guy the ball. Ken Walker, there's plays all over in this game.
So I think two other very mispriced players are in this game between Jawan Jennings, who all he does is earn targets in place of Brandon Ayuk. Even last week, a team high 32% mark, although it was Ricky Pearsall who scored that 46-yard touchdown. And then in his last 3 other full games outside of that one, Jennings recorded 40%, 23%, and 18.5% of their targets. So I love Jennings. There is a game, because what's happening is now the 49ers, unlike last year when they had 4 players to go to, they have 5 with Pearsall. So there is a game where the pendulum will swing back in Debo's favor, but I do think it's more of a guessing game. The good news is in his last 2 starts around the bye, he has 7 carries as well. He had a 28% target share before the bye, which is what he averaged without Brandon Ayuk the past 2 years too. So Debo can still get there, but Jennings is too involved to be 5,300. There shouldn't be this kind of discrepancy between Jennings and Debo's salary, honestly. So I'm going to play Jennings everywhere. And I think the other mispriced option is DK Metcalf coming back. He's already practicing full on Wednesday. 23% target share the last time these two teams played earlier this year. And although he had 3 catches, don't look at the box score. Remember, he had a downfield DPI. He had a giant touchdown called back because that was the one where Kenneth Walker questionably lined up off sides, or maybe it was pre-snap motion. But the box score doesn't show what DK Metcalf actually did to this 49ers secondary. If you play Geno, you're going to get the volume. Like you're doing it because you're 100% going to get 40 plus pass attempts. And I totally get it. My issue with the play is that unlike when he took down all GPPs against the Rams, this target share is no longer condensed to Lockett and JSN since DK is back. So I would not know how to play it. And I don't think I trust Ryan Grubb that he's actually going to take that 20-yard ADOT he saw from JSN before the bye and let him still run those kind of routes.
Yeah, compress it. It's like, buddy, get ready to learn.
I think I'm skinnier here with like DK, McCaffrey, and Jennings. I'm going to definitely work a lot of players from this game into my lineup, but I think I may do so without the quarterbacks. If I do play a quarterback, I'm just playing Purdy and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go Jennings, Purdy, CMC. I'm not sure yet, but Purdy should always be in our pools.
All right, let's see here. If we go Purdy, Jennings, and McCaffrey, and we use let's put Barner in here. Let's just pretend. Let's pretend we got AJ Barner in here, 3,100. That leaves us for 5.3K left per slot. Let's just pretend the defense. If you go, the Titans defense is 2,300. We normally don't talk about defenses on this show. It's going to be the cash game play. Yeah. That leaves you 6.1K left for per slot for running back, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. That is a viable build. So I like that. And I will probably be playing some iteration of that team in one of my single entry or 3 max teams. All right, our final.
Really quickly, I will say that yes, like Christian McCaffrey's performance last week made me question if he can even get there, honestly, because he looked like garbage running between the tackles.
Look very good.
But the fact they got him right back out for 19 to 21 running back touches plus the catches, he should be played on DraftKings. I still think he's massively underpriced. On FanDuel, They weren't effing around. Like, he literally showed back up and they said, 9,800, buddy, here you are. So I do think there's an argument to be made where you maybe don't play him on FanDuel at that cost, especially with the Knights game and Chase Brown in it. But on DraftKings, yeah, I'm just locking him in. He's too cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he played 89% of the snaps. They need him. There's no resting. They're 5-4, dude. These games really, they're not first place in the division right now. Like, the Cardinals are a wagon, bro. There's no, I've just seen that. I saw that thrown out last week. I played McCaffrey last week. Like, dude, this is Kyle Shanahan trying to win a Super Bowl. Like, we're not Isaac Urendo, bro. Kyle Shanahan does not know that guy anymore. He's Isaac who? I don't know him. He's does not matter. All right. A game that like 3 years ago, we would have had a team total of 54.5. We would have been like, oh my God, we're jamming all these guys in. The Kansas City Chiefs traveling to play at Orchard Park in Buffalo, a team total of 21.5 for your undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, a team total of 23.5 for the Buffalo Bills. To be honest, there's like 2 plays in this game, and I don't even like the chalk one. I do not like Khalil Shakir at 6,300. Like, I know he's fine, and he catches all his targets, and he looks great, and he's the Bills' Cooper Kupp. Like, not the type of guy you want to play into chalk at the highest price he's ever been. I'd rather play Dawson Knox. Hunt, just free money every single week. Like, literally, this dude leads the NFL in touches since his first game. Leads the NFL in expected fantasy points, which you would not be like, oh, Kareem Hunt leads the NFL. He does. He leads running backs in expected fantasy points per game. And Travis Kelce. These are the plays in this game. And Hopkins, too, a little bit.
This game is going to total 30 points and be the worst spectacle we've ever seen.
It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad.
So for Khalil Shakir, that's why there was no chance I was playing him last week either. Like, that's not the kind of guy that beats you in DFS. A league low 3.7 yard depth of target. You said Cooper Kupp. Let's be real. He's Buffalo Wan'Dale Robinson.
I was going to say Wan'Dale. Yeah.
I know you don't want to admit it, but that's what he is. This year as well, just 2 red zone targets, 0 end zone targets on the year. Dawson Knox has significantly more touchdown equity. Knox also last year made 1 start without Dalton Kincaid. He had a season high 20% target share. And so spending down there, the Chiefs allowing the second most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Like, yeah, I'm probably going to play a little Dawson Knox. And then the only other guy is Travis Kelce, just because, well, let me not say that. If you get the Josh Allen to Dawson Knox, like, even without Khalil Shakir, I get it, because Steve Spagnuolo has been terrible at stopping Josh Allen's legs. Even last year, you go back, he totaled 22 carries for 100 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So Josh Allen can get there with his legs, and he can do it with a cheap Dawson Knox. But on the other side is where I struggle, because it's only Travis Kelce, in my opinion, who, one, isn't going away. He hasn't dipped below a 20% target share in any game without Rashee Rice just yet. But also, you just look at how the Bills have struggled immensely to defend him, because all they do is take away the deep shot from Mahomes and they let him pile on underneath. And look at these box scores the past 3 years against Sean McDermott.
That, which, by the way, is so misguided. Like, let the Chiefs throw deep balls. Xavier Worthy's never catching one. Just like put 3 guys on Kelce and say, run free, Xavier. He's taking himself out of the play.
So even if I don't get the Josh Allen, I'm willing to do skinny stack, Dawson Knox, Travis Kelce, because now Travis Kelce. That's nice. The last 3 years, 6 catches, 57 yards and a touchdown, 8 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown, 108 yards, 6 catches for 83, and 5 catches, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. He destroys that style of defense Sean McDermott plays. So yeah, Kelce, Knox, I think, is my favorite way to play this game.
John, I love that angle. I think that is great stuff. If Cooper doesn't play, I'm actually good with if Kincaid and Cooper both don't play, I'm pretty good with Curtis Samuel. The Chiefs will let Curtis Samuel PPR scam 6 for 50. And honestly, Curtis Samuel more likely to generate a touchdown than Khalil Shakir. He really is. The haters and the losers, they don't want to hear it. Weirdly, my YouTube comments are big Shakir people. They call him.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're gonna absolutely hate me.
They call him Amon Shah. Like, they think he's like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Like, so Shakir is good.
Good.
I hate, because now on Elon's Twitter, There is no context provided anything. And so people show up and they say, oh, Shakir, like, look at this catch rate. Look at the yards after catch.
Look at the catch rate, bro.
Dude, he's literally like, he might as well just get the ball handed off to him in front of the center. That's basically what his target. So of course he has a high catch rate. We would have a 100% catch rate from those Josh Allen targets that he gets. And then of course he gets yards after the catch because he has no choice because he doesn't run any actual NFL route. So I love Shakir as a player. He can do much more than this, but this role sucks. This role's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, Knox, we should be clear. Knox is like a jam, like generational, like you got to, as good as Gesicki was the week. I mean, he's probably not going to get 30 like Gesicki did that week, but he is of the same genre of player as Kate Otten chalk week, Gesicki chalk week, things like that.
If you can find the 1K to get from Davis Allen to Dawson Knox, I would absolutely do that. And I don't think 1K is a big ask on this slate. You can do a lot. No. You can do a lot on this slate.
No, it's not. All right. Real quick here. Let's build a line. Actually, let's just see what the optimal is. The Thursday optimal. I knew it. It was gonna be all of these bills. We got the Thursday optimal on the solver is Brock Purdy, Alvin Kamara, Devin Achane, Elijah Moore, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Dawson Knox, McCaffrey, and the Titans. So swap out Shakir for Jaden Reed, and you are cooking with gas. John, let's build a team here on Thursday, and I'll go prop this in the contest. You're the guest here. I will give you the first pick.
Gosh, man, the first pick, that's tough, especially since I like 4 to 5 different quarterbacks. Let's go. Who's the most important player here? Plug me in Dawson Knox.
I was going to say the tight end is probably the most important.
I want to make sure we leave ourselves a lot of salary.
You know what? And then I will just I'll be a bigger coward, and I'll just going to take the Titans defense. I will say, to me, John, that we really don't talk about defense as much. The Titans defense are such a good play that I actually don't care that I'm going to show up in the spy and they're going to be 34%. I really don't. Like, I think they should be like 3,200 at home against Darnold. They really should.
I still may not play them. I'm going to see how else unique I get. Let's get Achane in there, by the way. I'm going to keep, we don't need to get unique just yet. Let's keep it simple right now.
No, let's do, I love it. I mean, I'm never going to say no. I'm never going to say no to Devin Achane. All right.
Blow up.
I will get us to a quarterback. I will make our decision. And you know what? Dude, I'm taking 2% on Lamar Jackson. We've saved salary at defense. We've saved salary at tight end. We can always do a second tight end if we want. I'm going to take Lamar Jackson.
Let's go Bateman.
Okay. I like that. So that right there, I mean, Bateman, is Bateman going to be even 1% owned? I would be stunned if you turned it over in the spy or the power sweep.
It's such a good play too. Like, spending up at quarterback, that's the issue, is that it may take away from our running backs. But yeah, man, Lamar is gonna scorch the world.
I'm gonna give us a little bit more money to work with. I'm gonna take Tillman. I'm gonna take Cedric Tillman at 5,300. I'm looking at this ownership discrepancy. I'm like, dude, I actually think Moore is gonna get more chalk than Tillman. I think these ownerships by Sunday, our friends are gonna have these swapped because you kind of need the money. So I think a lot of people are going to play Elijah Moore. We have 6.4K left per slot for a running back, wide receiver, and a flex.
What happens? Let's plug McCaffrey in here.
Let's throw in Christian McCaffrey. We have 5.4K left.
Oh, okay.
Wide receiver and a flex. So we're actually cooking there.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. Well, if we do, what is left if I put Puka in? That puts us in second tight end range. Let's go a little bit. You know what? I'm going to do my flag plant of the week, and I'm going to take Jaden Reed, and we have 4.4K left, which is kind of a dead range. That puts us in too tight. That puts us in like Dawson Knox range. That puts us in Hunter Henry range, Curtis Samuel, or Elijah Moore, or so basically two tight end range. And then we can upgrade elsewhere.
So what is two tight end range this week? Basically anything below 4,500 because we don't have the receiver value yet.
Yeah.
Unless
Laporta is 4,300. We didn't really talk about him, but like he
may not play.
Wow, shit. What does Brock Wright cost?
No, so not that this could be right, but when Laporta left the field last week, since Shane Zylstra has been back the past 2 games from IR, Zylstra ran 8 routes to Brock Wright's 5.
people forget. So actually, I'm going to take Jaden Reed out, and I am going to throw Puka in, and I'm going to let you take your tight end, your tight end of choice, your second tight end. So this could be Davis Allen. This could be AJ Barner, Juwan Johnson, in any of these guys.
Yeah. The only issue with AJ Barner is that the Niners, unsurprisingly, with Fred Warner, have just been incredible at shutting down tight ends. They even shut down Travis Kelce and Kate Otten. So,
let's see here. Well, the best. Let's do Davis Allen then. Let's put Davis Allen in, and that allows us to play any wide receiver you want. It literally name your guy. Jefferson, St. Brown, Adams. Take your pick.
Did you want to go Puka and come up on Titans, or you want to go St. Brown? The issue for St. Brown is that it's the Lamar Jackson thing from last year. It's where like the offense is too good.
Oh, here. I've got us. We can go from Tillman to
I like Sutton.
Cortland Sutton. There you go. I knew we'd get there. Lamar Jackson with Bateman, Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, and Davis Allen. Wide receivers, Bateman, Sutton, Puka, tight end, Dawson Knox. The Knox Allen teams, man, they're gonna sim really well. Promise you get to Sunday morning.
I don't even hate him.
Sim.
I don't even
very
hate him
well.
Either.
All right, man. Let us do our flag plants, our early flag plants, and then we can get out of here. I have got two. My first one is a player. It will be 2% owned Jaden Reed. He will feature on multiple of my teams. And then my second flag plant will be don't fight the optimizer when it gives you two tight end. There's just a kind of a gut instinct to be like, dude, I can't play Dawson Knox and Hunter Henry together. I can't play Davis Allen and AJ Barner. I think you can in this very bifurcated NFL where we have like a fourth of teams who just do not score points. So those are my flag plants, John.
I will go the lower owned route. I won't tell you the most obvious plays. So I'll go Anthony Richardson that I talked about earlier.
It's a really
really like that very cheap naked Anthony Richardson, especially with Pittman returning to practice. You don't even need to sort through receivers. 4 touchdowns are very possible against this sieve of a Jets defense that people think is still good for some reason. And then I will go. I like Cortland Sutton a whole lot this week. We forgot that all the Falcons do all year long was give it up to wide receiver ones because they played the Cowboys in the game. Dak Prescott got injured, and then they played the Bucs without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Kate Otten still spiked him for I think that was the game he went over 100 yards. So like if you want to consider him their wide receiver one, which he basically is right now, then that snuck past us. But then obviously MVS. 3 targets, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It is Cortland Sutton turn this week.
Cortland Sutton week, Jaden Reed week, 2 tight end week. Everyone, make sure that you are checking out all of that incredible content over at Establish the Run, that you are subscribed to the Establish the Run YouTube channel. Make sure that you like this video. Please subscribe to the channel and comment below your Gold Star play, and I will be back